Chapter 3: The Message. Jade started her Tuesday like most others. Alarm at 6, coffee by 6:30, dressed and at her desk before 8. She liked mornings. They were quiet, obedient. Nothing unpredictable happened before sunrise. She sipped from her favorite mug as she flipped through listing appointments and updated notes in her client portal. Outside, the city was waking up, one honk and rumble at a time. Inside, everything was in order, just the way she liked it. Jade didn't think much about him after the party. Not at first. She had gone back to her routine. Early mornings, manicured meetings, and a client list that didn't tolerate delay. But every now and then, she'd catch herself remembering the way Cameron had smiled as he fixed the cooler, or how his voice had wrapped around that quiet joke like it belonged to her and no one else. She told herself it was just a moment. People have moments. It didn't mean anything. That night, she read a few chapters of a novel she'd already read twice, half-watched an episode of the home renovation show, and eventually crawled into bed, one leg out of the covers, her arm draped over her eyes. But sleep came in fits. Something about the silence didn't feel restful. She woke up around 3, checked her phone for no reason, then finally drifted off again just before dawn. Tuesday passed like a blur of busy. Meetings, closings, showings. By Wednesday, she was running on caffeine and autopilot. She didn't think about Cameron, not consciously, but he showed up anyway. In quiet gaps between phone calls, in the idle silence of elevator rides, until Thursday morning. She was sitting at her desk, sorting through listing photos, when a ping sounded from her phone. Not a text, a Facebook message. Until that following Thursday, she was sitting at her desk, sorting through listing photos, when a ping sounded from her phone. Not a text, a Facebook message. Hope your weekend was better after the barbecue. It read. It was from Cameron. Jade blinked at the screen. She didn't know they were even friends on Facebook. She stared at the message for longer than she meant to. It was casual, simple, unassuming. No emoji, no follow-up. She locked her phone and went back to work. 15 minutes later, she unlocked it again. It dragged, honestly. I started to reply. Weekends usually just turn into more work, cleaning up whatever spilled over from the week before. But the barbecue broke it up a little. That fan was a blessing. The reply came 5 minutes later. Then my mission was a success. He answered. She smirked, set the phone down and didn't reply right away. The rest of her day passed in waves of productivity, property updates, client emails, calls with lenders. But between tasks, she found herself tapping the side of her phone, wondering if Cameron would message again. He didn't. She thought about replying again, then changed her mind, then drafted something in her notes app and deleted it before it ever touched the screen. Around 3 o'clock, she caught herself daydreaming, not about what he'd said, but how he'd said it. There was no edge, no push, just a man talking to a woman without pretending, without performance. It felt foreign. She remembered the last man who'd asked her to dinner. Pressed shirt, perfect teeth. He'd ordered for her without asking. Talked about IPOs and summer homes and how she'd be a great accessory at fundraisers. She'd smiled, played polite, and then gone home feeling lonelier than she had walking in. By 5, she had shut her laptop, reheated leftovers she didn't really want, and tidied her already tidy apartment. The click of her heels echoed against the hardwood as she moved through the condo. The fridge hummed softly in the background, the only sound in a space too used to silence. The air felt unusually thick, like something unsaid was lingering in the corners of the room. She lit a candle, changed into her coziest lounge set, poured a glass of red wine. And by the time she curled up in her reading chair, slippers on, legs tucked beneath her phone was already in hand. She opened the app again. Do you always fix things at parties? Or was that just a one-time heroic debut? She messaged. In a matter of 3 or 4 minutes, he replied. Only when they break. But yeah, I guess I do. There was a pause before she typed again. That's kind of noble, unexpected, or just survival. I grew up with 4 sisters. Learned early that if you fix the fan, nobody ropes you into dancing. She smiled at that. It wasn't just what he said, it was how easily it came. Like he wasn't trying to impress her, just telling the truth, plain and unpolished. She laughed, alone, quietly. The kind of laugh that didn't need to be loud to feel honest. They messaged on and off that evening. Nothing deep, just easy, comfortable, like standing near someone who doesn't expect you to perform. She learned he ran service calls across the metro area, sometimes 6 or 7 a day. That he didn't go to college, but got certified early and learned the rest on the job. That he liked Marvin Gaye, old westerns, and barbecue joints with uneven floors and great cornbread. He asked her to dinner. The message came in quiet, like it was afraid to disturb the calm she'd built around herself. No pressure, just a question. A line cast gently into the dark. She stared at it longer than she wanted to. Not because she didn't know what to say, but because she did. It wasn't that she didn't want to. There was a softness to the idea, a part of her that pictured it too easily. Him across from her at a quiet booth, a basket of fries between them. His hand curled around a chipped ceramic mug, the kind that always kept coffee a little too hot. The light would be dim, amber-toned. Their laughter would fill the quiet like something that had always belonged there. But feelings she'd learned didn't always deserve a vote. She typed slowly. I don't think that's a good idea. But thank you for the invitation. Truly. She hovered for a second, thought about adding something else, clarifying, softening, but she didn't. She didn't explain, and he didn't ask. No problem, he said. Just figured I'd ask. And that was it. The thread fell silent, like a light turned off in a room that had started to feel familiar, but not forgotten. Because even though she turned him down, Jade went to bed that night thinking about something she couldn't quite name. She told herself it meant nothing, that she was just curious, that it was natural to check. But even after she turned out the lights, pulled the blanket over her shoulders, and shifted twice to find the cold side of the pillow, he lingered, in thought, in breath, in the space between, and in the morning, before she touched her coffee or opened her planner, she opened the app, just to see if he'd messaged again.